Ibn Battuta, the man who traveled 75,000 miles in the 14th century. The desert wind moved like a living thing across the caravan, carrying sand that stung the eyes and filled the mouth. It was the year 1326. Somewhere between North Africa and the lands of Egypt, a young man rode among strangers, his body weak with fever, his future uncertain. He had left his home in Tangier only months before, intending a single pilgrimage. Now, he faced the vast unknown. Ahead of him lay cities he could not yet imagine, rulers he would serve, dangers he did not yet understand. Behind him lay everything he had ever known. There was no easy road back. He later wrote that he felt overcome with emotion as he left his family. Yet even then, something stronger than fear drove him forward. In that moment, as the desert closed around him, one question remained: was this journey an act of faith, or the beginning of an obsession that would consume his entire life? Most people believed they knew Ibn Battuta as a simple traveler, a man who journeyed far, recorded what he saw, and returned home. His story was often told as a long, impressive adventure. A record of distance, nothing more. But that version missed the truth. He was not only a traveler. He was a judge, a diplomat, a survivor of shipwrecks and betrayal. His journeys were not smooth paths across maps, they were dangerous, unpredictable, and often driven by ambition as much as faith. This story would reveal three things rarely understood: how he used travel to gain power, how often he bent truth in his writings, and how his journeys depended on a global network few people even knew existed. So the real question was not how far he traveled. It was why he never stopped. The world Ibn Battuta entered in the 14th century was vast, but it was also deeply connected. Across North Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, and parts of India and China, a shared religious and cultural system linked distant cities like threads in a single fabric. The Islamic world stretched across continents. Scholars, merchants, and officials moved between cities with surprising ease. A traveler who spoke Arabic and understood the law could find shelter, work, and respect in places thousands of miles from home. But this world was not peaceful. Empires rose and fell quickly. Roads were dangerous. Bandits, disease, and political conflict waited at every turn. Travel was slow, often taking months or years between destinations. A single mistake could end a journey forever. Yet there was also opportunity. In cities like Cairo, Damascus, and Baghdad, knowledge flowed as freely as goods. Judges held power. Scholars shaped society. And a young man trained in Islamic law could rise far beyond his birth. Ibn Battuta was born into such a world in Tangier, around 1304. His family belonged to the class of legal scholars. From a young age, he studied law, religion, and the traditions that governed daily life. He was not poor. He was not desperate. But he was restless. At the age of 21, he made a decision that seemed simple. He would travel to Mecca to perform the Hajj, the great pilgrimage required of all Muslims who could afford it. It should have been a journey of 1 year. Instead, it became a journey of nearly 30. And here lay the first truth: he did not leave because he had to. He left because he wanted more than the life he had been given. His first test came early. On the road to Mecca, illness nearly ended everything. Alone and weak, he depended on strangers to survive. Yet he refused to turn back. Step by step, he reached Egypt, then Syria, and finally Mecca. He had proven something to himself. He could endure. But endurance alone was not enough. Soon after completing the pilgrimage, he faced a choice. Return home, as most did, or continue into lands unknown. He chose to continue. Why? Because he had discovered something powerful. In every city, his education gave him status. Rulers needed judges. Communities respected scholars. Travel was no longer just movement, it was opportunity. His greatest obstacle was not a single enemy, but uncertainty itself. Roads changed. Empires shifted. Trust could vanish overnight. In some places, he was honored. In others, he was nearly killed. In India, under the rule of Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq, his life took a dramatic turn. The ruler was known for both generosity and cruelty. Ibn Battuta was appointed as a judge in his court, a position of high status, but also great danger. The sultan's moods were unpredictable. Rewards could turn into punishments without warning. At one point, Ibn Battuta fell out of favor and feared for his life. He later described the court as a place where blood flowed easily. Still, he stayed. Was it courage, or ambition that kept him there? The turning point came when he was sent as an ambassador to China. It was an honor, but also a risk. Along the way, his ship was wrecked. He lost everything. For a moment, his journey seemed finished. Yet once again, he continued. He reached China. He explored cities larger than anything he had seen before. He described markets filled with goods from across the world, systems of order and wealth that seemed almost impossible. But here, another truth emerged. Some of his descriptions did not match reality. Historians later questioned parts of his account. Had he truly seen everything he claimed? Or had he shaped his story to fit expectations? Even at his greatest achievements, doubt followed him. At his peak, Ibn Battuta had traveled over 75,000 miles, far more than any known traveler of his time. He crossed deserts, mountains, and oceans. He visited regions from West Africa to Southeast Asia. No single journey defined him. It was the scale that mattered. But there was a cost. He spent years away from home. He lost contact with family. In some places, he married and left wives behind as he moved on. His life was a series of beginnings and endings. Stability was never his goal. And perhaps it was something he could no longer accept. The moment his journey began to turn came not with a single event, but with time itself. Years passed. The world changed. His role shifted from participant to observer. Eventually, he returned to Morocco. The journey that had defined his life came to an end. In his final years, he dictated his experiences to a writer. The result was a detailed account of his travels, known as the Rila. It was not just a record. It was a legacy, and perhaps, a carefully shaped memory. He did not die in glory on a distant road. He died at home, in relative quiet. After decades of movement, his life ended in stillness. Was this always his destination? Or had the journey itself become his only true purpose? The answer lay in the pattern of his life. From the moment he left Tangier, he chose movement over stability, risk over certainty. The same force that drove him forward in the desert never left him. The journey did not end. It simply ran out of time. Without Ibn Battuta, the medieval world would feel smaller. His writings connected distant cultures, offering one of the most detailed views of the 14th century ever recorded. Through him, historians gained insight into trade, law, religion, and daily life across continents. Yet history also judged him unevenly. Some praised his courage and curiosity. Others questioned his honesty. Both views held truth. He was not a perfect observer. He was a human one. He exaggerated at times. He adapted his story. But he also preserved a world that might otherwise have been lost. His legacy was not only the miles he traveled. It was the bridge he built between worlds. In the end, Ibn Battuta did not simply move across the map. He revealed how connected that map already was. And that may have been his greatest discovery. So how should he be remembered? As a faithful traveler who followed duty, or as an ambitious man who chased opportunity wherever it appeared? The answer is not simple. But perhaps that is the point. If this journey revealed anything, it was that the line between faith and ambition is rarely clear, and often, it is the crossing of that line that changes history. And if one man could cross continents in a time of uncertainty and danger, what truly limits the journeys people believe are possible? If this story reshaped the way his journey was understood, then there are many more waiting to be uncovered.